Dear students, hope you are all well. In the last class, we learned about how did we divide time, that is day and night. The methods of what was used for reckoning time, that is afternoon, evening, night, right? And the common era or the Christian era, that is the era which began in the memory of Lord Jesus Christ. Now students, let's move with the other part of the chapter. Next, we are going to learn about the measurement of time and the methods of measuring time. Now, let's start. We are going to learn how to measure the time. To measure time means to a certain amount or degree of something that is called measurement. Now, this is an instrument how they used to measure time. So, we are going to study the methods of measuring time. Now, see, seconds, minutes, hours, days, week, month, year, century, and millennium. Now, what are all these called? These are the units of measurement of time. Now, and the smallest unit is the second. Okay. Let's move forward. See students, there are different ways of measuring time in the different parts of the world. Now these are different instruments which are used for measuring time in the different parts of the world. And one of them is the common era to measure the time. Let's move forward. Now see, what do we do to show a day, a particular day? What do we do to show a particular day? Yes, if you want to indicate a day, how do you indicate that particular day? Yes, we do indicate that day by writing the date. Okay, first we write that date. Now, do you know how to write the date? Yes, while writing the date, first of all, we write the serial number of that date. What we do first, we write the serial number of that date. That means the number of that date. For example, 7th. 7th means suppose today is 7th. So we write as a 7th. Okay, that is the serial number of date. Then it is followed by the serial number of that month. So today's which month going on? That is July, and the number of the month is 7th. And last it is followed by the serial number of the year. So how it goes as date, month and the year. In this pattern, we do write our date. Okay. Now there are different patterns of writing date too. Now this is not the only pattern. There are different pattern. Like suppose sometimes some even write first the month, then the serial number, and then the year. You might be seeing in the mobile phones also it is there. So there are different patterns. But the most commonly we use this pattern, that is date, month, and the year. Let's move forward. Now there are other methods too. We have seen the Christian era or the common era, right? The Christian era and the common era, how it started in the memory of Jesus Christ. Now it is an age-old custom, right? It is a very old custom to start a new era to commemorate a special day or special event. For example, the coronation of a great king. Coronation of a great king means the coronation when that king became, he was coronated as a king. Okay. Now we know that Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj also started a new era or Shaka known as Raja Abhisheka Shaka. He also started a new era. That was in which year? In 1674 AD to commemorate his own coronation. That means when he had become, that time it was started, when he had become a king. Okay, so commemorate means celebration or to give respect. Let's move forward. Now we are going to study the next point, that is the historic period. In the first chapter, we have studied what is history, right? Now, history is the science that tells us about the past events, as you all know. As well as we have learned that the past time or the bygone time means which time is already gone, makes up the past, and the past is the subject matter of history. Now, if you want to understand the periods in the history, we need to understand the past. If we want to know the periods of history, first we need to know about the past. And here, just now I told you history deals with the past. So we must go back to the billions of years when we must go back to the billions of years. Billions of years means past when a solar system existed, right? For example, our solar system existed how many years ago? You all know that? That was 4.5 billion years ago. And our Earth is one of the planets of a solar system, as you all know. Now, so what can we presume or what do we understand here that our Earth also existed 4.5 billion years ago? Now, is that the Earth existed now? No, it is from long back, that is 4.5 billion years ago. Now, the span of 4.5 billion years is a vast period, right? It's not a small period, it's a vast period. Let's move forward. So, what we can do to understand the history? Yes, we can divide the history into periods. So here the history periods are divided into different parts. For example, prehistoric period and historic period. Now what is meant by prehistoric period? Pre means before. Okay, the word pre means before historic period. Now, in that period is called as a prehistoric period. Now, in prehistoric period, written records were not available. There were no written records available to write the history. It is written on the basis of the evidence which were found in the excavation. Now, what is historic period? Historic period is where we have got the written records, right? We have got the written records, and on basis of that written record, the history is written. For example, prehistoric period belongs to the Stone Age and the Three Ages. You all must have heard now about Stone Age, man. It's so prehistoric period belongs to the Stone Age. Let's move forward. Now we are going to learn the next point, that is scientific methods of measuring time and establishing time. Now see students, can you tell me what is the date today? For example, today is 7th July. Okay, take an example. 2020. Okay, now when we talk about this date, what we are talking about the day. Okay, it helps us to identify the date as well as the earlier date. Now, before, what was the earlier date? If today is 7th, what will be the earlier date? 6th, right? And the next day will be 8th. And also we have studied there are different ways to measure the time. And all these measure helps us to identify a day, a month or a year, as I told you before. Now, we can identify month and year in respect to the earlier and later month and year. Just now, as we seen the what is today's day, what is the earlier day, what will be the date tomorrow. In the same way, if it is month of July, now which month is going on? Month of July. Then we know that the earlier month was which month went? The earlier month was June. In the same way, the next month will be August. Events which were occurred before Common Era that were mentioned as before Common Era events. Let's move forward. Now the next is there are various layers of soil under the ground. Now you all might be knowing that there is not one layer of soil. There are various layers of soil underground. And it is very difficult to tell the period of time of that remains that we found under the ground. Can you tell me how many years that layers of soil is? No. Now to form one layer of soil, it takes how many years? It takes thousands of years to form a layer of soil. So we cannot know the exact date. We are not able to say, but we can determine an approximate period of time. That means a rough estimate of how many years ago they existed and can be determined. Now to do this, we need a scientific method. A scientific method such as carbon 14 analysis and tree ring analysis is used. And they are also known as dating techniques. Now you must be thinking, what is this actually, right? It is one type of scientific method of measuring time and establishing the age. Now some information about prehistoric, that is animals, plants buried under the earth, can only be obtained with the help of evidence buried under the ground. And this evidence was in the form of fossils. Fossils are remains of plants and animals, that are their bones, right? Remains, bones, to find out the exact age. How many years they existed and can certainly be made using scientific method, that is C4 analysis and tree ring analysis. These methods are known as dating techniques. By using these techniques, we learn how old the layer of soil. By using these techniques, we come to know how old is the layer of the soil and the remains found in them. The remains means the fossils, the bones which are found in them. Now, tree ring analysis is being used to find out about the trees. Okay, you can see now in the third picture, it is being used to find out about the trees. And carbon 14 technique is used to find about the animal's age and born, right? When was the animal's age? When was it buried? So, carbon analysis is used for animals. Let's move forward. That is your homework, because you have to find the answers of these questions. First one is Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj had started a new era or shaka known as dash. Second one is the historic period is the period for which dash are available. Third one is what are the units of measuring time? And the last is what are the scientific methods of measuring time? That's all for now. The chapter ends over here. We will learn the next chapter in the next video. Thank you for listening, children. Goodbye. Take care.